The emperor asked Cosette how it was. The girl pressed her face into her father's chest and cried, confirming the maid's words. Kiira shouted angrily at the maid. What nonsense is she saying? It wasn't like that. Tell the truth. How dare they lie to His Highness? But the maid, on her knees, confessed that that was all she had heard. The maids, who were watching their argument, reasoned. Do such words deserve 1,000 strokes? It is true, isn't it, that following Kiira is difficult to deal with? After listening to the maid's words, the emperor said to Kiira. She has become a problem for this house, Kiira Farvis. Does she really hate Cosette's maids that much? The girl threw herself into his arms and began to make excuses. He got it all wrong, it's just a misunderstanding. All these maids are in cahoots with Cosette. And unexpectedly for her, as for all present, the emperor struck his daughter. The emperor told her that she was constantly giving him trouble. And he does not want her to call him father. Because of her actions, she will be locked up for a month outside the main house. After that time is up, she must not be seen by him. After he had spoken to his daughter, the emperor left, and after him all those present began to leave. Kiira alone stood slumped and did not move. Cosette came up behind her and said, her father's opinion and favor are so important in this society. And how she would have liked to see her beaten in exactly the same way. And all she got was such a mild punishment. From such taunts, Kiira lashed out at her sister. She cursed her and told her that her whole life had gone wrong since she showed up. Smirking, Cosette said that if she wanted to sit crammed into a corner for the rest of her life, she could claw at her hair. If she did so, she would complain to her father and she might even be kicked out of the palace. As early as the next day, Kiira's punishment began. She sat cooped up in her room. She watched Cosette and her father walk in the garden. Though she was sad and lonely, she reassured herself that if she proved her spiritual connection to the spirits, this girl would immediately disappear. And then her father would have to put it all back the way it was before. So she needs to manifest her power sooner, as soon as possible. Earlier than Cosette's. Cosette had a ball on her birthday. At her birthday party, she showed that she could wield magic. She could finally control the spirits. She was very happy that Beatrice gave her a blessing for her birthday. Everyone present congratulated the new princess. Kiira, who was standing on the sidelines, didn't understand how she did it. When the guests saw Kiira, they became angry with her. They suggested that the girl be punished. That lying bitch had pretended to be a lady for so long, let her pay for her sins. She has fooled us all for 18 whole years, the wicked witch. She must be planning to destroy these lands with a demon. She must be locked up immediately. And so, she was condemned to death as a sinner who would bring chaos and destruction. Yes, that was the ending. At least things were going her way. Until she woke up in her bed, with the feeling that she had been executed, and she woke up in the afterlife. A maid immediately ran up to her. Kiira did not understand what was happening to her. She thought it was a dream. But that sensation of decapitation roused her body. She couldn't believe it was just a dream. She thought she was dead. She thought she had woken up in the afterlife. She thought her maid had been executed, too. But the maid did not understand what her mistress was saying. She seemed to be having a nightmare. She must have been tired from preparing for young Master Zeke's birthday party. When she heard his name, she thought he was dead, too. They could have killed her, but he hadn't done anything wrong. She jumped off the bed and ran to him. In the dungeon, Zeke was talking to the prisoner. Were you so sure your father would believe you? And yet you ended up here? But the girl answered him nothing. She asked him to leave. If he was seen with her, it would be bad for both of them. But the boy didn't want to hear such things. He suggested they run away together. If this continued, the girl would die. The girl, with sad eyes, continued to talk the boy out of it. What if they get caught? Then he too will become a criminal. He must go back to the palace as well. A dungeon is no place for the likes of him. But still he insisted on his own way. He did not want to live in the palace without her. In the end he had to go back to the castle. He told the girl that he would come back for her, and he was very worried. So she must not sit on the floor. When Kiira was hurting and shouting her brother's name, everyone around her looked at her and didn't understand what was happening to her. Running through the palace, the girl saw so many familiar faces. Did all these people die? Most of them had done absolutely nothing wrong. Why did her father do this to them? Then finally she saw her little brother. He was concerned about her behavior. What had happened to her? Asked the boy. If his father sees her like this, he won't like it. Zeke warned his sister. Father? Kiira interrogated in amazement. She still thought it was the afterlife. And all those present were ordered to be killed by her father. The boy didn't even know how to answer her. Turning to the maid, he asked her to take her back to her room. She probably wasn't awake yet. The maid replied that Her Highness needed to get her shoes first. While they were waiting for Rose, other maids ran up to her and started asking the girl if she was all right. All of these faces appeared very familiar to her, but much younger than she remembered. A little confused, she asked Zeke what day it was. The boy replied that today was August 13th, 1925. Today will be a banquet in honor of the young lord. Kiira remembered that this was the year she turned 18. Perhaps she went back in time. If so, then who did it and why? Does anyone else remember what happened? Kiira pondered. She was clicked by Zeke. She's very strange today. Standing and looking in one place. She told him she was having a nightmare. The boy wondered what she was so scared about, so he asked what her dream was about. She dreamed that she was dead. It was so realistic that she thought she had gone to the afterlife. She thought he was dead, too, since he was here. Before, she would never have been frightened by a simple nightmare, the boy answered her. It was just a dream, let her not worry. Yes, Rose encouraged him, dreams are nothing like reality. The girl thanked everyone for their support. She asked Zeke, and whether or not he had had breakfast yet. She suggested that they eat together. The boy was delighted at the offer. The maid said she would get everything ready right away. But the boy was still a little depressed. She will leave earlier than usual, though she doesn't want to. She always greets her father at this time. Then she told him that she always got up early and dressed nicely to greet her father. She was silly. Why did she cling to someone who didn't care about her? If she really did go back, if she was given another chance, then it was time to change everything. Now she wants to be the people who also care about her. Starting today, she decided to stop doing that. Memories from her past life flashed through her mind. How her father had ordered her to be executed in the square as a witch who had cheated him when she was 18. Meanwhile, His Highness was working in his office with his assistant. His servant was a little surprised, for at this time the lady comes to greet His Highness. She did not come today. Was she ill? The emperor asked the subject. He replied that about an hour ago she was running around the mansion in her nightdress. Is there anything else he needs to know about the princess? It seemed very unusual to His Highness that the princess was walking around the palace in a nightgown. The servant noticed that His Highness did not look well. Perhaps he should rest a little. The emperor replied that he had had a nightmare, so he had not been able to rest properly. Terrible nightmare. He can't remember what it was about, but the sadness that would turn out to have broken his heart still leaves an unpleasant bitterness on his soul. After a little rest, he ordered the doctor to be sent to the princess. Meanwhile, the young lady was in the library. Today is the 13th of August 1295. And 2 more months before Cosette appears. She stopped in front of high society at Zeke's birthday party. She probably wanted word of her to spread throughout the capital. Cosette's powers manifested themselves 2 years later. She remembered how, before the day of her execution, Cosette had approached her and told her that the truth was that Kiira was real. What did that mean? If she was Farva's daughter and Cosette was not, why did she have power? The oracle said that only one child with the gift would be born. Could it be that Beatrice changed her mind? It doesn't matter, though, thinking about it doesn't help. She can't even know why she went back. Instead, she must try to write down the events and prepare for the future. She thinks she'd better run away when the time comes. For starters, she should remember the video before she died. If she saw the spirit, then she must figure out how Cosette managed to contact Beatrice. She must also find out if there is a small time travel back. She had never heard of such a thing before. She assumed it was useless to ask the magic tower. But then her musings were interrupted by Rose. She knocked on the door and said that his lordship had sent a physician. The princess did not understand why His Highness had sent a physician to her. The maid suggested that perhaps it was because she had not greeted him this morning. She was very surprised at her father's action. When she begged for his salvation, he ignored her. But now it's not even funny. The princess said she was fine and no doctors were needed, so he could go back. She didn't want to waste time on useless things. She needed to mind her own business. The maid realized that she was talking about the knight's order. And immediately she went to prepare clothes for the princess. Dressed in special clothes, she sat in the arena for training knights and watched the battles. When she saw the man with the blue hair, she knew this was the man who would turn in. She was already living the day. When the battle was over, Sir Joseph asked her. How did she know this man would pass if she hadn't even seen him train? She didn't even think she said it out loud, and that with Joseph hearing her words. In her defense, she said she had heard of him before, other fighters talking about him as an outstanding talent. At the time, she was still on good terms with Cheese Joseph. They were not on good terms. Because of the fact that she only became head because she was the Grand Duke's daughter. Unlike her, who got the position because of her lineage, the Swade of the chapter was a talent. She felt as if all her weaknesses were exposed then, she felt humiliated. To gain an advantage, she confronted him. Only now does she realize how foolish that was. After all that, it was Sir Joseph who tried to protect her to the last. Afterwards, she turned to him. She has something to tell him. She would like to apologize. The deputy wondered very much why she wanted to apologize to him. A little shy on admitting that she was jealous of him. She wanted everyone's appreciation as much as he did. She wanted to apologize for taking his place. From now on, they wouldn't have any arguments. She wouldn't pick on little things. Now he could run the order flawlessly on his own. He no longer has to ask her opinion at all. Joseph's aide reported that the training was over, and they both went to greet the boys who had joined the Knight's Order. Welcome to the ranks of the defenders of the Empire, Knights of House Farvis. Congratulations on joining the knighthood. She asked Sir Joseph if there would be a party for the recruits. Yes, Joseph said. And even though it's called a welcoming party, in the end, they'll just have drinks together. They can eat and drink as much as they want. The soldiers standing in formation wondered, would the head come to the party or not? It seemed to them that if the princess wasn't there, they could do what they wanted, and if she did come to the party, it would be kind of awkward for them. I've heard you whisper, Sir Joseph, and so has Princess Kiira. To please the soldiers, she said she would not come to the party tonight. All the soldiers were very happy after her words. Because by her coming, she would spoil the atmosphere of the party for everyone. She apologized for that. These words shocked the soldiers. She did not have bad intentions. She was only at home that she could get close to them if she were there. She never thought that her presence would prevent them from enjoying the party to the fullest. That won't happen again, so she hopes they have a good time. At her words, all of the knights wilted. She thought they would be happy, but somehow the atmosphere became gloomy. Had she said something wrong? To make up for it somehow, she said she had some business to attend to, so she would leave them first. As she left, the knights began to ask each other, what should they do? It seems their complaints were heard by the princess. But all they wanted was for her not to come and spoil their feast. That wasn't an insult, was it? They couldn't think that my lady was thinking of that. She only wanted to make friends with them, and they did such a bad thing to her. Then one girl said that Kiira was a decent lady, how could she know how to have fun? Did she really come to get closer to them, but they just rejected her and asked her tactfully not to come? Holding his head, one guard spoke. No wonder she seemed sad. It was all because of them, Sir Joseph thought. He decided to go as a representative from all the soldiers and apologize. Then the other knights asked him to tell her that they would be happy if she came today. They could teach her how to have a good time. Sir Joseph said he would try to persuade the princess. When he went to the princess, all the knights cheered him on and said that he would succeed in inviting the princess. As he followed the princess, he remembered this morning's conversation. She wanted to apologize to him. Did she really hate him? Until yesterday she had been like a rose with thorns. But today my lady seemed free. At this time, the princess came to see His Highness. She came to thank him for sending a physician to her. The emperor answered her that if that was all she wanted to say to him, it was enough to just write. Come here just for that, a waste of time. Well, the girl replied that she would never have disturbed His Highness just for that. She planned to stop greeting him in the morning, starting today. She wanted to apologize for inconveniencing His Highness by interrupting him while he was busy. It doesn't matter to him whether she comes or not, Kiira thought. To this the emperor replied that he let her do as she pleased. Milady thanked His Highness as well. She had one more question she wanted to discuss with His Highness. She wanted to leave her position as head of the knights for a while. She is very tired and needs rest. It is likely that 2 months would be enough for her. Did the emperor reply that it was too long and that 1 month would be enough for her? In that case, she asked for a month and a half. She knew that in any case she would have to leave the position when Cosette appeared. So it was better to leave by the very point. Time is precious, there are too many things she must learn. She tells His Highness that she is very tired, and asks His Grace to give her a month and a half of rest. The emperor was astonished at his daughter's insistence. With a surprised face, he said let her take 2 months off, as she had originally requested. Kiira thanked her father for such generosity. With his permission, she left. And the surprised emperor remained seated in the room and did not understand what was happening. In the evening, as Kiira sat at the table and drank her tea, she wondered what happened to her after she died. Did her father continue to live happily ever after with his real daughter until the very end? Was the empire able to survive the foreseen disaster safely? Did everyone become happy after her death? At this time, Sir Joseph approached her. She seated him at the table and said if he came because of what had happened earlier, let him not worry. She apologized because she was really sorry. But he wanted to talk about tonight's welcome party. Kiira said not to worry about her, let them have their own fun. She might make them uncomfortable if she came to them. She also added that she would also like to leave the position of head for a while. Joseph was shocked by this response from the princess. This position shouldn't have been hers to begin with. She would simply give up the position to someone who should have it. He immediately began to reassure the princess. Just because the boys said this morning doesn't mean they don't want to be friends with her. The last time she came over, they felt as if she was watching them closely. They felt pressure, so they expressed their thoughts too harshly. A welcoming party is a place where everyone mingles, has fun, and drinks. If she sits with a stern face, it's only natural that people will misunderstand her. The girl put her cup on the table and said that she understands that all knights take exams. They have no reason to follow a man with just one name. The eldest daughter of a duke becomes the head. This is an old tradition. She will be a duchess in the future. Who dares say such harsh words to her? He will surely find that person and punish him. Joseph began to defend the princess. The princess began to calm him down. No one said such a thing. It was her own imagination. Why would she suddenly have such thoughts? They never thought of her that way. After all, she's the girl from the prophecy that's only born once every 100 years. She will be a duchess in the future. How can they not be proud that they are in charge of the future of an entire continent? Simply because of the bloodline, no one would doubt her after being defeated by her in training. It's nice to hear a girl say that. But when she arrives, everyone suddenly falls silent. To this Joseph answered her that knights cannot talk quietly in the presence of the next duchess, who, moreover, will be the future hope of the entire continent. She thought that for a noble lady loud laughter was something extremely unacceptable. And then an unexpected proposal came from Sir Joseph. He invited her to celebrate with them, all waiting only for her. If she came a little later, everyone would already be drunk. She was very happy that the knights had asked her to celebrate with them. She realized something. She thought that if she wasn't like her father, she would be useless. But she wasn't. When they arrived, everyone greeted them with a standing ovation. They had as much fun as they could at this feast, waving swords, singing songs, drinking. And no one was sad.